Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Titans final. I'm not going to say better late than never version because I'm within an hour after the game ended, so I'll take that as a win. To the Titans final here on the Israel Sports Network. Phillies tonight unceremoniously lose. And a stinker of a game, man. Boring baseball. 6-2 to the White Sox. 6-2 to the White Sox. Fall 2-2 on this road trip that they're on right now, and Chris Sanchez wasn't looking good. The offense wasn't looking good, with the exception of some people, and we'll highlight some of those names here momentarily. And the Phillies, they had a shot 4-2 there, late innings, but that eighth inning kind of got away from them as they gave up two more runs. And there you go, man, 6-2, 6-2. Davis Martin, 6-hit ball for 6 innings for Chicago today, as they go to 7-3 now since the All-Star break. So I guess you got to look at it from a White Sox perspective. It's not about how you started the season. It's about how you finish it. Phillies finished the night with only 6 hits. Yesterday, what was it, 5? 11 hits over the last 2 games. This is what we're talking about, man. This is what is frustrating about this baseball club. They have some of the offensive numbers that they had kind of going into the Yankee series, those first couple of games, and all's right in the world for a couple of nights, and then all of a sudden we get slung right back to reality. I said it last night when I was doing the final. It's a 6th cycle with this team and its fan base, and we're back into it again. So 6-2 is your final tonight. Frustrating and horrible loss. Joe Hale says, and he also says, "Hey everybody." Ellis Rogers chimes in with, "We can't beat the Sox." No, can't beat the White Sox, man. White Sox win. It's not a phrase you hear every day. It's truly not. And for the Phillies' sake, today, obviously it didn't work out. And we got the trade deadline bearing down on us. And everything that's wrong offensively about this team. Is anybody else, and I guess you can blame the bullpen a little bit tonight as well, as they faltered in this game for the Phillies. They could not keep things tight there in the 8th inning. And, I guess you can kind of pin the tail on them. Seth Johnson, 1 inning, 3 hits, 2 runs. It was earned. Gave up a walk, strikeout. So the highlight, the issues with the bullpen. But I'm going to ask this question a different way. Why is Seth Johnson pitching in the 8th inning? Why? Why is Seth Johnson pitching in that point in the game? Seth Johnson's not a late inning guy. Seth Johnson's a starter. All right? He's a starting pitcher. And yet the Phillies and their magnanimous manager, Rob Thompson, want to throw out this analytical crap night after night when it comes to this bullpen. So I still maintain the Phillies have a serviceable bullpen if it's used correctly, which it hasn't been in the Rob Thompson era. Max Lazar also pitched a half inning of scoreless ball. Chris Sanchez, of course, the story of the night. 6.5, 7 hits, 4 earned runs. There, 1 walk, only 5 strikeouts, 2 home runs, 2 more home runs given up by Phillies pitching tonight. I think the team is over 90 now for the season. Phillies pitching has given up, I think, over 90 home runs on this year. 88 pitches through those 6.5 innings, which will never serve up as any kind of quality start. And Phillies fall tonight 6-2. And I wonder, how are you feeling about that? How's everybody feeling about that, man? Ricky Bo said they didn't get into 2 a.m. Is Ricky Bottalico working for Al Zafiri, or is Al Zafiri? Well, you know what? I haven't done this in a while, Joe Hale, and thank you for bringing that up. Here we go. Ricky Bottalico reports that one of the Phillies' problems today was because they got in at 2 a.m. So that means, well, we got a blue light special at Big Al's Goose Emporium. That's right, Big Al's. We haven't heard from Big Al in a while. They've had a quiet summer, but tonight they're open for business. With the Ricky Bottalico, they did not arrive to Chicago till 2 a.m. It's on aisle 4. It's on aisle 4, right next to analytics or the way to manage baseball. So new for the late summer, 2025, aisle 4, Ricky Bottalico's. The Phillies did not get into Chicago till 2 a.m., hence the sluggish performance by the ball club today. And that is available only exclusively at Big Al's Excuse Emporium. When you go in there and you mention my name, Matty B, you get half off all of the Philadelphia 76ers stock that they have left over from last season. So I'm not buying that there, Joe Hale. I'm not buying that. I don't care if they got in at 2 a.m., they got at 4 a.m., they got at 7 o'clock at night. I don't care. They are professional athletes. They are expected to perform, and they should have performed. No one was asking them to go dig a new salt mine. They're asking them to go out and play baseball. It wasn't like they were running to Chicago, like on a forced road march from New York to Chicago. No, they were sitting on a plane in pseudo first class, enjoying themselves, napping the entire way. I'm not buying that, man. Not buying that at all. So, Big Al's Excuse Emporium back in business tonight, courtesy of Ricky Patalco. Man, it's been a while since I brought that out, man. It's been a while. So, thank you for that segue, Joe Hale and Ricky Patalco. Sad news, Ryan Sandberg. Yes, if you have not heard the news, Ryan Sandberg dead today from a reoccurrence of cancer. Former Phillies farmhand was sent to the Cubs in one of the worst trades. I believe I have it as the worst trade in Phillies history. And again, went on to have a Hall of Fame career with the Chicago Cubs. Then went into managed the Phillies there for a ill time. Didn't work well. It was also in our minor league system as a manager. And then he kind of walked away from that job. But today he passes away after a long battle with cancer. So rest in peace, Rhino. Rest in peace. One of the, I'm going to give him. I get in a lot of arguments about Ryan Sandberg and his place among baseball's elites and baseball's all-timers. I know it. When you think of second basemen, especially my generation, one name pops in your mind. That's Ryan Sandberg, and you could probably add Chase Utley to the generation younger than me, but he's definitely up there. And I would have him if I was putting together an all MLB team. Ryan Sandberg is my second baseman. So, for my money, he was the best second baseman ever to play the game, and he almost did it as a Philly. Worst trade in franchise history. But rest in peace, Ryan Sandberg. I think dead today at 65. So, I mean, when's the madness going to end with this stuff? Yeah, we lost a lot of people last week, and these are people that I grew up with. Hulk Hogan, Malcolm Jamal Warner, Ozzy Osbourne, now Ryan Sandberg. I mean, come on, man. I mean, I get it. We all have that end state. Everyone's got that same thing waiting for them. But geez Louise, man, my mortality is being questioned, especially over these last few days. He was a nice guy. I met him at a Reading Phillies game. Right, he was maybe a little bit over his head as the Phillies manager as he kind of walked off the job back there in 2015, 2016. Decided, you know what, this ain't for me. But Ryan Sandberg today dead at 65. Rest in peace. All right, back to this thing. Let's get into, the box score. We'll break this thing down. Phillies on the night, 2 runs with 5 hits or 6 hits. Again, 1 error. The Cubs, Jesus Christ, the White Sox, 6 runs and 10 hits. No errors. Offensive standouts for the Chicago White Sox. Let's start with Luis Robert. The much maligned Luis Robert, potentially playing in one of his last games as a White Sox. 1 for 4 with a hit, a run, 2 RBIs, and a home run. So was Luis Robert on showcase tonight for the Phillies? Unfortunately, he won't be facing Phillies pitching when he's a Philly. I don't know if that lowers your stock. Sosa also probably the big night for the White Sox, 3 for 3 with a run, an RBI, and a walk. He's probably the offensive standout. If you're picking one, Vargas was also 2 for 4. For the Phillies, it looked good in the beginning part. Bryce Harper had himself a pretty damn good day. 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a strikeout. Marsh today, 2 hits, 2 for 4. And Kepler was 1 for 4. And that's just really it. I mean, there's a bunch of Obergers all up and down this lineup. Kyle Schwarber did get on base 3 times via the walk, but that's not what he's in this lineup to do. That's not his job, not to walk. Trey Turner was 0 for 4 tonight. Just, again, a very listless offensive performance. Second day in a row now by the Phillies. Phillies left 7 runners on base. They did ground the one double play, courtesy of Trey Turner, and they were 1 for 4 with runners in scoring position. The White Sox were, they left 6 on base. They were 2 for 7 with runners in scoring position. They did not ground into any double plays. Let's look at the scoring position, or let's look at the pitching. I'm sorry. Chris Sanchez, we kind of went over his line already. Not a good start for Sanchez. Very rare occurrence these days, not having a good Chris Sanchez start, but still late in the game, 4-2. Phillies had a shot, but offensively throughout this game, they just could not get those hits, and it's a common story. Lazar and Seth Johnson, ill-fatedly pitching in the 8th inning. Again, you're never gonna. Is it me? Am I the one? Am I just refuse to come on board with the new way of thinking of just putting pitchers in games based on statistical matchups? I mean, I could look at Seth Johnson and tell you he's not a back inning guy. Matter of fact, as I said, Seth Johnson's the goddamn starter. And okay, so he's not a starter here with this team. That's fine. But why are we putting him in situations in the 8th inning when we know that's not his thing? I don't get that. No one's ever going to make me get that, because I just don't think it's baseball. It's playing like playing the show. You know, you're running numbers. Seth Johnson did not deserve to be pitching in that 8th inning. It's criminal. Martin went 5.5. We went over his line. Lazar, Wilson, and Taylor also pitching for the White Sox today in the winning effort. The Phillies did get things rolling for them in the top of the 3rd. Harper would double in Kepler, and Stott give the Phillies a early 2-0 lead. But here come the White Sox in the bottom of the 3rd. Montgomery with a 2-run homer to tie things, and then Luis Robert in the 4th with a 2-run homer. They put him up 4-2, and then that ill-fated 8th inning, Sosa would knock in Vargas. Montgomery would reach on an infield single to first. Benintendi would score on an error. Sosa would move to second. Sosa then would go to third on a throwing error by Harper, as all that added up to 2 more runs and a 6-2 defeat at the hands. Is it the Northsiders? Are they the Northsiders or the Southsiders? I think they're the Northsiders. No, they're the Southsiders. So, yeah, it is what it is, man. Just really uninspiring. Again, a game that's being played in late July, they played like this. It's just, it doesn't really give you warm and fuzzy. Hello, Ricky. How are you tonight, man? How are you doing tonight? What else do we got to go over here? Phillies also win this game. Well, you know what? Let's save that for the Broad Street bottom line. Let's roll that now. Let's go to our Broad Street bottom line. The Broad Street Bottom Line tonight is brought to you by the good folks here at the It's a Wrap Sports Network, creators of such program as The Wraparound with Pat Bernard, seen weekly at 10:30 on Fridays. Pat is taking a temporary hiatus as he attempts to debug some of his internet problems, and Mike Lauro will be in the seat this week at 10:30, so make sure you're tuned in. Pat, and also the Tacking Third on Thursdays at 9. Again, I'm not aware. No one's told me anything different, but Steve Fuentes maybe will roll alone. I'll sit in with Steve if he wants. I know nothing about soccer, nor do I know even less about the union. But you know what? I'll be a sidekick if he needs one. But Steve will be on Thursday night at 9. So make sure you're tuned into all that. But the Broad Street Bottom Line today, we didn't go over this. The Phillies struck out 11 times in this game. One thing that they've improved offensively, and again using analytics as their own tool here, has been their strikeouts this season. They're not striking out anywhere near the way they were in years past. I believe it was somewhere in the 7s, about 7 a game in the first half, and around that span here in the second half. But over the course of I think they struck out 12 times yesterday. And now they struck out 11 times today. So that's not a trend that you want to see return, especially at this point of the season. I know there's been a lot being said about the Phillies' plate approaches and the way they go up against their at-bats, and Kevin Long is consistently in the crosshairs for that. But they have improved remarkably on their strikeouts. Tonight was not one of those nights, and yesterday was not one of those days either. And if this is not a trend that needs to return right now, and doesn't need to return ever, but especially at this point of the season when we're going to need every at bat and every opportunity to try to scrape out some wins. And tonight, you can't strike out 11 times in a Major League Baseball game and expect to win. I don't care what era it is. I saw a recent interview with Larry Boa pretty much chastising these players as being soft. And, is it really the players that are soft? Or is it the people that are training them? Is it the people that are coaching them? Are they the soft ones? And I think that's a question that needs to be asked, because a player's only going to do what the player's coached to do. And baseball needs a rebellion when it comes to that stuff. We need to get more old school guys back into that, and not at the MLB level. I mean, down at the youth level, kind of turn these kids around a little bit. I went on a soapbox there. I didn't mean to do that. But the bottom line for me tonight is you just can't strike out 11 times in a baseball game, especially against a team like the Chicago White Sox. Now, maybe against a team like the White Sox, you can afford to strike out 11 times and potentially win a game. You're sure as hell ain't going to be able to strike out 11 times against the Dodgers, Mets, teams like that. And they couldn't do it, obviously, against the White Sox tonight as they lost 6-2. So it's 11 strikeouts in this game. Pitiful. Let's go around the bases. All righty, let's head around the bases on this Monday night. It was 11-4 Orioles over the Twins, Blue Jays. I don't know I can't speak tonight. It was 5-1 Tigers over the Diamondbacks. It was also 4-2 Rays over the Yankees as the free-for-all continues in the Bronx. It was the Dodgers 5-2 winners over the Reds. The Braves 10-7 winners over the Royals with cheese. It was 8-4 Brewers over the Cubs, 7-1 Cardinals over the Marlins, and 2-1 Nationals over the Astros. Games that are still evolving. It's 3-3 heading into the bottom of the seventh inning between the Rockies and Guardians. Red Sox and Twins are in a rain delay in the bottom of the ninth. That's a kick in the junk for the umpires. Boy, man, 4-3 is that game. End of the fifth out in Anaheim, it's 3-2 Angels over the Rangers. In the middle of the fourth, it is 1-1 Mets and Padres knotted up. Again, I'm sure Phillies fans are going to be keeping an eye on that one. 4-4 Pirates and Giants in San Francisco in the bottom of the fourth. And it is 2-0 Mariners over the A's in the bottom of the fourth out there in Sacramento. And our game, Phillies dropped 6-2 to the Chicago White Sox, now 60-46 on the season. Let's take a look at our vaunted standings here, as we like to do here on this program. Now that we're beyond the All-Star break, I authorize it now. I mean, the others could have done it whenever, but I personally don't do it. We'll start in the National League tonight. We started in the American League. We'll start in the National League. Currently, right now, the Phillies are now 2 games behind the Mets. Wow, 2 games. And that's, of course, not with tonight's game withstanding. So it could be, 2.5? So we're starting to slide in the National League East. It is the Brewers a game ahead of the Cardinals or the Cubs. Out in the West, it's the Dodgers 4.5 over the Padres. In the wild card, or in the American League, Toronto's lead now over the Yankees is 5.5, as they're still playing. In the Central, Detroit has the 8.5 lead. They pretty much have that division sewn up. And out west, it's the Astros 3.5 games up on the Mariners and the Rangers. Wild card, which of course now matters to the Phillies. In the American League, your wild card teams are New York, Boston, and Seattle, and Texas. They're actually tied for that. Tampa's only 2.5 back. Cleveland's 3.5. Kansas City 4.5, and Los Angeles 4 or 5. And yes, I guess we can talk Twins. They're 5.5 games back. In the National League, it is the Cubs currently holding your number 1 spot in the wild card, 2 full games ahead of the Phillies, who are now number 2. San Diego is your 3rd, with Cincinnati only a game and a half off the pace. San Francisco 3 games. St. Louis 3 games. And then everybody else pretty much falls in behind them. So it's getting a little close in the wild card standings, and it's getting a little bit distant in the goddamn National League East. 2 games now behind the Mets, and the Mets are still playing. So, good game on MLB TV, Padres and Mets. Yeah, I obviously it has implications on the Phillies as we head down the stretch here. Anything that the Mets are going to do, obviously, we're going to keep an eye on at this point. and then also circle those games in the calendar that we're going to play head to head. But I'm not liking what I'm seeing, honestly. They could fall to what, 2.5 games tonight with the Mets win. I don't like that. Matt, like my Flyers picture? I do. It's very cool, Ricky. And we'll get into some Flyers talk here later on. Very soon. I still owe you guys a season review show that's just coming up on the Clear the Ice program here within the next 3 weeks. I promise it's in the works. It's in the works. But 6-2 to Phillies fall tonight to the White Sox, man. Just dreck. Wasting your time watching this game. Thankfully, I had watched a condensed version of this game because I was working until about 9 o'clock tonight or so. I didn't get off the field, so I had to kind of get caught up. But tomorrow night, just like tonight, I was in for Pat Bernard tonight, so I get credit for the loss. So I take the L on this one. This is the way it is. Pat doesn't get the L, I do. But tomorrow, Steve Fuentes will have you, and then I will be back on my regular scheduled gig on Wednesday to kind of wrap this thing up. The final word will not be seen tonight, as you might have already guessed. I'm doing post-game duties, so I'll be back tomorrow night with the final word, and then hopefully on Wednesday as well, so which I will be able to do both. So there you go. There's your Fightins final in a glance for the rest of this series. Phillies, White Sox. Phillies fall tonight 6-2. Chris Sanchez with maybe one of the worst games this season. Will you be on tomorrow at your normal time? Yes. The final word will be back tomorrow night at 10 o'clock. I promise that. No games tomorrow night. So, all right. That is going to do me. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Phillies losers tonight 6-2. Ryan Sandberg dead at 65. Hits keep coming, man. Just can't stop him. Until we talk again, we'll be back tomorrow night, and Steve will have you for the Fightins final, and then all the great shows that we have on the network throughout the week. So we're getting closer and closer to that magical day of football season. As a matter of fact, we got football on Thursday. The Hall of Fame game, San Diego. See, I said San Diego. The Chargers versus the Lions from Canton. As we go from one Hall of Fame enshrinement week to the next with football this week. So make sure you're checking everything out. Make sure you're checking this network. Make sure you're back tomorrow night for the Fightins final. Make sure you also like, share, and subscribe on all of our platforms. So with the special attention to YouTube, we're only 3 subscribers short of 100 on YouTube. Pretty not shabby for a YouTube channel that had 0 8 months ago. I'm pretty proud of that, and I thank you, of course, for that. But let's keep growing it. Let's keep getting it bigger, and we'll talk very soon tomorrow night. Once again, Phillies 6-2 losers to the White Sox. I don't know what else to say about that, man. I can sit here and drone on and on for the next 25 minutes, but it's the freaking White Sox. There's no way to justify that. I mean, Luis Robert was maybe advertising himself. I thought the Phillies played that pitiful, all too familiar brand of baseball that we've been seeing. And, 5 hits? It's just, there's not much to talk about when it comes to that. It's very frustrating. It's very frustrating. And then you mix in some defensive problems late in the game. Seth Johnson pitching in the 8th inning. Chris Sanchez not having a good start. I mean, just a bad game. Real bad. But hopefully we'll get it under control tomorrow, because tomorrow out there in Chicago, it'll be a 7:40 start time, just like tonight, and it'll be Jesus Luzardo, good God, against Jonathan Cannon at 7:40. I'd like to tell you that I know anything about Jonathan Cannon or who he is. I don't. And thank you, I don't have the post game tomorrow, so I don't have to learn. But Steve will have you tomorrow night, and I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Please like and subscribe on all of our platforms, especially YouTube. Both the trade targets are out of the picture. Why is that? What trade targets we're talking about? We'll have to wait for that later on, Joe. So I'm going to sign off. But trade deadline is coming. Something's going to happen. I don't know what, but something will happen. Until we talk again later on, until we see you tomorrow on the Fightins final, you guys have a great rest of your night and a pleasant tomorrow. Stay cool, by the way. It's friggin' hot outside. And we'll speak again tomorrow night. Take care.